Okay, how you doing, YouTube squad? Welcome to my channel. I'm gonna say it again. What's up? What's up? Now, I'm trying to be in a happy mood. I'm trying to be in a good mood. I know somebody went up in my comments and said, are you gonna review the final episode of Basketball Wives? And I said, yes, I would, because I just needed to get some facts and get some tea together, because I know that OG has since posted a few videos or a few recordings of some of the conversations that they had that we did not see. And I'm gonna touch on all that, but I have a little bit over 30 minutes or about 30 minutes to finish this review before I gotta go back to work. I wasn't able to do the review yesterday because everything was fine with me about 2 days ago. Yesterday evening or late yesterday, the night before last, I wasn't having the normal symptoms like a woman who's pregnant is supposed to have. And somebody already made the announcement that I was. Now, I made the announcement because I didn't think I could get pregnant in the first because I had had surgery and I was worried about it. So I was very excited, but it was my first time. I've never been pregnant before. And I knew the risks of what could happen, you know, being that it's my first time and I just healed from surgery less than 6 months ago. And, you know, my body is still recuperating and stuff like that. I knew the risks, but I was hoping for something better. But yesterday afternoon, it was just too much blood everywhere. I went to urgent care and they told me that I was miscarrying and there's nothing I could do to stop it. And that's just what it is. So I wasn't in the right mind to do this review. And I'm still kind of coming off of it because I was just too excited. I was really happy about it. So I'm sorry about that, but I'm gonna go ahead and do the review now. And before I start, I wanted to make sure that I touch on some of the things that I heard. OG has posted conversations that she had that were not shown on the show. And it was mostly about her talking to the Clap sisters, Nothing and No One. And we since found out that Nothing or No One, both of them are just irrelevant to me, decided that they were going to try to bait her into getting into a fight because they wanted to do something significant on the show, maybe so they can come back in season 10. And we've since learned from Jennifer and her Twitter feed that there will be a season 10 after all. So I'm hoping OG's not in this mess so that way I can cuss out this ladies without feeling bad for her. And so Nothing was trying to bait OG into a fight. And OG was calmly talking to her and she kept pushing and pushing and pushing to the extent that production had to get in and tell her, if you don't stop what you're doing, we're going to move you out the scene. This is not what we want here. This is not what we asked for. We're trying to make the other ladies on this side look good and OG look like shit. You're not helping our cause or a plot that we want to do to keep this show going. So girl, you need to slow that roll. You need to keep your good side so we can keep making it seem like OG, the dark skin girl, is the one that's, you know, the negative person, the person that nobody wants to be around. You showing your ass, girl. So she showed us the recording about that. In the recording, they were also giggling, laughing, talking about food and how good it was. Jennifer was coming out with compliments. OG was very well spoken, calm, not yelling. They had no qualms talking to her or hanging out with her, including Nothing and No One. They were all chilling. On the show, however, they're making it seem like there's this huge negative energy and it's all resonating with her. Meanwhile, from what I see, it's everybody trying to talk about OG this, OG that, OG that, every scene, OG, OG, OG. You would think that y'all are in love with her so much as you talk about her and how her name comes out your mouth. They made her the scapegoat and they made her, she basically was the topic of this whole season. And this is the reason why the season even lasted for 7 episodes, is because of her. She made this show keep going, but y'all want to make it look like she's the bad apple in the bunch. But she's telling them to get to know Shawnee and to get to know everybody, and that she doesn't want to be the woman to influence their opinion on how they view Nothing or No One views the collective. She says it verbatim, please, I like to give people chances to get to know other people, which I do the same thing too. I do my best, unless the person is just wicked in their spirit. I will go out of my way and say, hey, I may not have gone along with this person, but you might. So let me let you get to meet them and you can make up your own opinion. Don't get influenced by my experiences. And she said that multiple times, which I'm going to explain why I said that now in that recording, because it's something that Nothing said later on in the show. Now, flash forward to the scene where Jennifer and OG are talking, and Jennifer's talking to us about her many crazy ass psychopathic exes that were dating her, one of whom caused something that cost her $50,000 to fix, and apparently he's never getting out of jail and was stalking her and was stealing from her, all this mess that she's getting into. And OG said something like, well, damn, you always dating the sociopaths. And she's like, well, you only hear the bad stuff. And OG says, well, I would like to hear the good stuff. Jennifer's like, well, nobody wants to hear the good stuff. And OG said, I am the type of person that likes to hear good things about people. I don't want to hear all the negative stuff. And I'm wondering why the hell you keep attracting sociopaths. Maybe it's something about your spirit that keeps bringing these types of men in your corner. But in that scene, when they showed it on TV, they cut that clip short of OG supporting her, talking to her, them giggling and laughing. And they went from Jennifer talking about her crazy ex to now showing something that OG said something like, ooh, look at this bag, or something she did with a basketball. They made it seem like she cut Jennifer short and didn't pay attention to her. And then in the confessional, they cut and pasted it so Jennifer would say something like, OG only thinks about herself, everything is about her. Now they're playing the I said in my review, something seems off. It doesn't seem like OG would have a conversation with Jennifer and just cut her off. It makes no sense. But now we're seeing the clip, or we're hearing the clip on her IG, I Heart OG, and we're hearing it, and she had a full-blown conversation with Jennifer. She did not just cut her off and start talking about something she made, but they put it on the TV to make it seem like she's a selfish person. This is what I mean when I say the cut and paste. So when some of y'all dumb people come to my channel and you're cruising by and say something like, it's not about the cut and paste, production did it, she said it, so nobody can make her say what she said. This is what I mean. They can cut your conversation short, clip a piece of it, put it here, and in the confessionals, which they have later on, they can cut and paste it to make it look like something happened when it didn't happen in that order. Okay, that's the point I'm trying to make. So they played that. I heard it in the conversation. It made a lot of sense to me, and I was like, production is full of shit. So then let's get into this this review. But before I do, I wanted to talk to you about something that I had posted on my my post channel, on my channel, just a post, not a video. There was somebody by the name of Acquiesce Smith. I hope I said your name right. I really do. And they talked about the interview that I guess Elton did with V, the girl named V. That interview that apparently Nothing keeps saying about OG wanting to get her on the show and stuff like that. And this is what this individual said. I can't read all of it, make it make sense. But it says, did you see the interview that Elton did? He did an interview with RLM3, shout out to him on YouTube, and put everything out there in detail. V is I think, a journalist who was, I do not know if she's still a host on AfterBuzz TV. She did that interview with OG in 2019 with 2 girls, and on that show, her name is Miss Conversation Piece or something like that, maybe her work name, because that is also her Instagram name. But he said that she has been trying to get him to get OG on AfterBuzz TV to interview her, and he said that at least 3 times that he has asked OG and OG has said no, and he told her that he can't keep asking. I guess she finally decided to do it because I seen her on there. It was a recap of the show as well as an interview. To make matters worse, he said that this was his friend before she started tripping. They would have been great together, him having someone who can help promote his clients and getting her name out there. But she wanted to disregard her friendship with him and help out her friend Nia, or Nia, Noria, whatever. I don't know anybody, who cares, one of those girls. But he said after the interview, she proceeded to tell them about Nia, and that she was after Phoebe. Now she popping her mouth on Instagram trying to make Elton and OG look bad. I'm glad that Elton found a friend in OG because he clearly did not get it from V, aka Miss Conversation Mouthpiece, because that is what she is to the sisters, especially Nia. The interview was very good. I also like his personality, and I see why him and OG are friends. And I guess that interview, Elton exposed that they were trying to make OG look like she's the one that wanted him on the show when they were actually actively seeking her out. There were other things that OG posted on her page. It says, these clowns try to bait me into a physical altercation. This is about nothing and no one, just to be on camera. By this time, I was out of patience. This was a complete setup. Needless to say, after about 4.5 hours of a giant mess, the truth came out. I simply asked that my name not be mentioned at that house and they get to know those people on their own. My ears nearly fell off listening to a useless conversation with a dinghy. The double agent, informants, and amnesia per usual. They failed to show Clout Sisters too, calling me a bitch and out of my name multiple times before I said I would finish her to make me look like the bad guy. Remember when she said, if you don't let me finish, you're finished? She said that after they kept calling her all types of bitch. OG doesn't cuss somebody out without having a reason, and that's what I've seen thus far in the entire time she's been on the show. She cusses people out or yell at you when you give her that energy. You get what you give. I give you what you give me. Give me bitch, you're gonna get bitch just like what you gave me. But they edited that part out, and you can hear Kristen saying, she said she'll finish her. She will finish her. That bitch is crazy. This is what OG kept saying. As I started to lay out the facts to prove that girl was a bull-faced liar, that's liar, she got louder and louder just to obstruct the audio from being recorded clearly. She called the stalker blogger first, who wasn't on this bullshit. As she fed her that lie of a story, they cannot even get their setup story straight, arguing amongst each other like fools. Then I called Elton for the truth. Production realized that Clout Sisters lied to them about knowing me and made up the entire storyline just to get on TV show. With all her lying and yelling, it got so out of control, production had to jump in and to advise the Clout Sisters that if they did not shut up, they would be sent home on a one-way coach ticket back to Memphis. The gag is the Clout Sisters did not even have a room at any of the mansion. Beyond useless. Pay very close attention to the end of this and remember the devil is a lie. Anywho, I'm off to the chiropractor smooches, and she gets off. Then we had somebody in her comments say, which I thought this was a great comment, if folks were trying to paint me in a bad light, I'd be making sure that we're exposed too. There's something off with all of this. As much as Evelyn has attacked people, thrown things, and threatened folks, she somehow gets passes. Malaysia throws a whole table, fights and threatens, and gets a pass. However, OG gets labeled for threats and is constantly segregated from everyone. What's really going on? Either way, good for her for making sure production and the cast don't paint her as some delusional villain. Time for this show to go to bed anyway. And so that's what I wanted y'all to know. And then Evelyn had gone, Jennifer had posted something saying, at Evelyn, she knows she missed me. And Evelyn picked it up saying, I always did, #sorry. Bitch, bye. Jennifer, then somebody said the season is over already. And Jennifer said it was more pandemic special. We'll be back season 10, hopefully with some normalcy. Some normalcy meaning that y'all are going to go out there and go bully somebody else. And bitch, you hope it's not your ass. That's what it is. So now let's get into it. So Shawnee and decided to leave last episode because she clearly realized that OG wasn't going to fall for their bullshit, and she wasn't going to bend to what they wanted her to do. She wasn't intimidated by them. So she decides to leave, saying that she doesn't want to be in this situation. Evelyn decides to follow Shawnee's ass because Shawnee's the main person that she's concerned about. Malaysia and Kristen are in the house looking stupid, trying to decide whether they should stay or not. They left, girl, and the only thing they considered was Shawnee and Evelyn. Malaysia and Kristen are extras, and they're used as pawns because they need them to keep the show going. When Shawnee decided to leave, she just like, I own this show, I'm leaving, I'm the producer, I can go. Evelyn only gave a damn about Shawnee's feelings. She didn't stay in the house for Malaysia or Kristen. She left because Shawnee left, and so Malaysia and Kristen had no purpose, so they decided to leave as well. Then we got the other house. Jackie's still trying to perpetuate the false narrative that colorism is non-existent in this entire franchise, despite the fact of what I just said about all the aggressive assaults that Evelyn and Malaysia and some of the other girls in the past have done and had never been segregated for it. But OG was the one who got treated that way. And I'll explain that later. Nothing and no one got sent back to the house. And Malaysia really is trying to say that she's trying to get an understanding about everything. She says she really made an effort to try to understand OG. Bitch, you did not. You went in there and tried to tell OG that what she experienced was all in her head and she was delusional. That is not trying to get an understanding with a person. That is trying to manipulate them to make sure your narrative is what they accept as their truth, bitch. That's what you try to do. You're stupid because you attack somebody and try to talk to the person who's more intelligent than you, and those are facts. OG is more intelligent than Malaysia. I don't care what anybody says. Malaysia's dense. Then we have Jackie and Jennifer all acting like OG's the issue in the other house. Jackie says that she's been trying to be the bridge between the two houses because she wants to make sure that everybody has peace. That's bullface lie, Jackie. You're full of shit and I hate you right now. I really want to just sit up here and cuss you out, but I'm trying not to get my blood pressure running because you did not come in there trying to make peace. You came in there trying to get OG to make a decision and change her mind and lie about her own personal experiences because you want to keep the checks on the show going for you. That's what she wanted to do, number one. Or number two, you wanted to not feel bad about being friends with OG when all the other girls who you're going to be in their face kicking about have a problem with her. You wanted to do whatever is necessary. If you cannot get OG to recant her statements and somehow kiss the other group's ass so you can feel comfortable in your spirit while you kiss their ass, you were going to boot her out. At the end of this episode, this is exactly what this bitch did. So that's why I'm calling her ass an old ass bitch. Now, OG decides to call Kwame because now she's feeling secluded again, isolated again, segregated again, being made to look a certain way by production again. All these girls making up their own minds because she's not willing to just fall in line and get with the program that's just stupid and just about let's be mean girls, let me just go ahead and be like them. OG doesn't want to be like y'all. That's what it is. So she calls Kwame, and Kwame does what a good boyfriend is supposed to do, hopefully a husband soon, God willing. Propose to this girl, damn it. Why are you wasting her time? She needs some babies and she getting old. She's like in her 30s, bruh. Either marry her or keep it pushing. Hell, I know you, Kwame. Marry her. Now, with that little tidbit, she called him, and he did what he was supposed to do. He gave her some good advice and basically said, that your intellectual level is above these girls. They're not going to try to understand you, not because they can't, because they don't want to, and because that means that they would have to accept the unconscious biases within themselves and deal with it, but they don't want to do that. They want to keep the show going the way that they want to so they can be able to bully people in the way that they choose when they choose to. You were just not the type of person they could do that to and get away with it. Then we had Frisbee showing up to the mansion, and I wonder what the hell she was doing last minute. I didn't understand the part of her bringing her here. I just felt like they needed something to put on this show to make it an hour long. So they figured they would throw Frisbee's ass, bootleg Cardi B in there and decide to talk to her about whatever the hell she has with nothing, whatever issues they have with Lance, who she has not screwed or laid with or been with for over 7 years. That is why I think this scene is completely stupid and irrelevant and unnecessary. But Freebie gets back And Evelyn decides that Freebie was I call her Freebie because she just goes loose at the mouth. But Evelyn decides that Freebie is significant enough for her to come back to the house. Malaysia and Kristen weren't good enough. She left, remember? And Malaysia and Kristen are still kissing all their asses, but they left those two because they're not important. What's what I'm looking for? Their use is complete. They don't need them anymore. They've already done as much as the production and everybody wanted them to do. You're not useful to me, so I'm not going to spend my time with you. We're not besties. We don't hang out when we're not filming. It is what it is. We're only friends on the show, or when we pop up at a party and meet each other, that's what it is. But Phoebe genuinely hangs out with Evelyn, so Evelyn considers her feelings and comes back to the house. But Phoebe's also somebody that Evelyn thinks that she can fix. You know, she wants to build her, hopefully not into a whore, but she wants to build her somehow, because Phoebe comes up a little bit rugged, a little bit rusty, a little bit, you know, what Evelyn would consider hood, but in the way that she accepts it, not the way that Tammy came in. So Phoebe's one of those. So Phoebe comes in all mediocre ratchetness with it. And I'm just like, okay, why did Evelyn come back? But Evelyn wanted to make sure that she got into Phoebe's ear before anybody did. So she decided she was going to come back. Jennifer is a bitch, and that's a fact. Because here's the next scene I'm going to talk about. The girls started, come downstairs the next day. Jennifer said something like, OG and her negativity can stay upstairs, because Jennifer is now feeling like she's gradually becoming part of the group again. And y'all remember that when Jennifer first came back after Evelyn tried to block her from coming from the show, she came back and Malaysia and Tammy had her back and they were friends with her. But then when Jennifer realized that Evelyn was willing to let her back into her ass so she can shove her head back up, that's probably why her breath always smells like ass. She always has her head up Evelyn's ass, so it comes out smelling like ass. So now that she realized that Evelyn was willing to take her back before Shawnee fucked that relationship up, she was cool with Tammy. And after that happened and Evelyn took her back, she decided to now make Tammy look like Tammy was dirty, Tammy was gross, Tammy smelled, and she don't clean herself and her private parts by saying that she left some vaginal juice in the pants that she borrowed from somebody. She was friends with Tammy. Tammy had her back the whole time, and she decided to shit on her. And that's why Tammy decided to tell everybody that she had been spreading rumors that Evelyn was screwing Shaq. Then that's allegedly, by the way. Then Jennifer was also friends with Malaysia. But then again, she thought she was cool with Evelyn, so she didn't mind throwing Malaysia under the bus. Jennifer is known to be a flip-flopper. She's known to not have a backbone. She's known to be a two-faced bitch. And now she's soon going to be up the ass of a girl who tried to attack her friend Dominique, who came on the show to defend her in the first place. Let's keep going. So then the girls are not pretending like they're having fun. This 4-man stupid pool party on the show. They're pretending like they're having fun in OG because OG's not there, so they're enjoying themselves. That's what they're that's the image they're trying to perpetuate. So fake no negativity, no one. In the midst of them having fun and having no negativity, decides to bring up OG's name again. Pressed. In this conversation, this bitch says that the night that she first came here, OG was saying a whole lot of shit to her about the girls, and that's the tea that she wanted to spill. And the things that OG said to her was that she fixes her lips, by the way, to say these words, which I think is complete bullshit anyway. That OG warned her about all the girls and said a whole bunch of shit that didn't match up with the recording that I just heard. And that OG told her that the girls were all bitter and that they were jealous and that they would be intimidated by her, which I thought was all bullshit. Because when you hear the recording on OG's page, OG clearly says, I do not want to help you form an impression with this girls. I don't want you to mention my name either. So don't go there and use me as your topic to talk about or try to get some juice or try to get some tea or trying to get some drama or insert yourself in situations that don't concern you. I want you to get to know them without me being included or me influencing your thought process. And now she's sitting up here. We all know that nothing lies too damn much. Hell, we all know that she sends porn to girls when she's mad at her current boyfriend, so she thinks they're cheating on them. We all know she does crazy, stupid shit. And we all know that she came on the show to be a clout-chasing thirst bucket. So do I believe anything that you're saying? No, heifer, I don't. Then Jackie and Jennifer took all this in. These are people who apparently knew OG a lot longer than they know these two extra females that are there, irrelevant and useless as hell. They listen to, if you are my friend and somebody can come to you and say one thing about me to you as my friend, and you swallow it and don't have the common decency or courtesy to come and speak to me about it if you have an issue, or you trust that in my conviction that I have been friends with you longer, so you kind of question the other person who's a stranger and say, hey, this is not what I've experienced in the past. This is not what I know this person to be like. Maybe I should talk to her and see what really happened. Instead, you let two complete strangers come and get in your head just because you want to believe whatever the hell you want to believe. It took only one person to manipulate your mind. We were never friends. I've had people that did me like that. I had one friend I was friends with her. I introduced her to all these other friends. Something happened between us because I didn't support something that she was doing, and I was too aggressive in expressing my opinion that I didn't support it because I felt like she was making a very rash, very impulsive decision. She wasn't really thinking based on what I perceived on my end. She went out of her way to tell everybody that I had introduced her to, people I'd known for years. Before I ever met her, I introduced her to them. And only one person had the decency to come to me and say, listen, I've been around you longer than you've known any of these people. This doesn't make sense. Can you tell me why you would say what you said? And I told her my opinion. And you know what she told me? You make a lot of sense. I would feel the same thing too. Jennifer and Jackie just threw OG away because they wanted so bad to stay on this show. They wanted so bad to take whatever fame this ratchet ass show gives them, and they were willing to throw somebody away that's been there for them, that's had their back when Jennifer had nobody, and Malaysia was trying to throw a table at your ass. OG was stopping Malaysia for two reasons. One, she didn't want Malaysia to attack Jennifer. And two, she was protecting Malaysia from going to jail in Amsterdam. And y'all gonna throw her ass away? For real? Okay, bitch. Now we have Evelyn coming back to the mansion for Phoebe, right? Now, they keep saying all the drama with OG caused them to leave, but OG had not set foot in that house whatsoever. And Evelyn and Shani did not care enough to go and actually have a real, honest conversation with OG in the first place because they felt like she was going to fuck up their show. So, Evelyn, I don't know what negativity you're referring to, bitch, but it's something that you probably brought on yourself because this girl wasn't even in your face. And she didn't even talk to you. Every information that you got and you're rolling with is a third party. This is not something you've actually experienced yourself. Then Evelyn brings up to Phoebe that no one and Lance had a history. And Phoebe says that, but while Evelyn is bringing up nothing to no one, Phoebe tries to make no one seem like a victim of OG because they had gotten into an argument. Again, something that she was not privy to. Evelyn was not there to see the drama that occurred or to hear, as we just heard from the clip that OG posted in her channel, that no one was calling her all sorts of bitches. So that's why she told her, I will finish you. She was baiting her. Now, Malaysia and Kristen took that information back to Evelyn with little facts and ran their mouth. In a court of law, bitch, y'all would have lost the case epically. So Evelyn is using that because it makes her feel good. It feels like it helps her case to make OG the bad guy. So she's not gonna go and relate that shit to Phoebe to make sure Phoebe's on board with all the bullshit and say OG was the bad person. But while she's saying that, Phoebe has no fucks to give about no one. She feels like no one is a stalker. She said that no one sent her porn. No one followed her. No one wants to be around her circle. Phoebe calls her ass this circle, bitch. You have only been here for one episode or maybe two episodes. It was on FaceTime. You have not been part of this whole whatever franchise you want to say is your circle. So who are you? She's like, well, who's this girl? Phoebe, who are you too? You haven't really done anything with yourself, girl. And right now, you're Evelyn's project. Now we have Evelyn on a mission to fix nothing in Phoebe's relationship because she's trying to paint the narrative that OG's the only one messing up, right? So if she's able to get along with everybody in the house and it's all going to be OG and everybody's going to see it's OG's fault, she can't get along with nobody, right? Then Jackie calls Evelyn, deciding to go over to Evelyn's side of the house with the rest of the girls minus OG. Now, here's the thing. Now that Shani is not at that house, Jennifer is comfortable enough, and I don't care what anybody says. Jennifer knows this. The girls had already left. She knows. She knows. She knows that Shani's not there. And now that Shani's not there to get in between her and Evelyn's relationship, because Shani will sit up there and say, but you told me I lied. You told me I made up the fact that you talked about Evelyn's kids as Shanice. You sat there and told me that Shanice was raising herself, that she's always been a whore, she's always been out there in the streets, and you said I lied about it. Now that Shani's not there to say that, Jennifer is now willing to go and kiss Evelyn's ass again, because Evelyn may not have a backbone when Shani's around, and Jennifer doesn't have a backbone when Evelyn's around. So it's like a little circle they got going on. So Jennifer's like, well, I don't want any negativity, but I don't want to stay in this house because OG's negative. So I'm going to go to the other house, the girl who tried to whoop my ass several times, who tried to jump over a table and hit me several times, who threw a glass full of wine or water in my face several times, who cussed me out several times, who called my friend Dominica Buster several times. I'm going to go to that house where she is because there's absolutely no negativity on there. There's none. So she went, and I was like, Jennifer, you're stupid. Jennifer is highly stupid. No wonder your ass keeps attracting sociopathic. You might as well be sociopath yourself. You're attracting the type of person that you are. You're an idiot. You're literally the very definition of insanity. You're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. As far as your head has been up Evelyn's ass, you've been there for years and you now found a way to break free. Are you going to go back there and expect a different result? She's going to turn on you again as soon as everything dies down and the court cases ends, but you're going to be her target again because Shawnee's going to come back and say that you're a liar. So that's where I got 15 more minutes to go. Now, Jackie, Jennifer, nothing to no one get to the house all shocked, pretend shocked that everybody has gone except for Phoebe and Evelyn. And she was like, well, Liza's gone. I said, Liza left the moment the episode began or the season began. She left because every time they asked her something, Liza, how's your day? Or Lamar's day went well, I'm sure. Then they asked her, Liza, did you start your menstruals? Well, Lamar caused my menstruals. Oh my God, he put me through a lot of stress. They said, Liza, did you brush your teeth today? Well, Lamar couldn't grow enough hair for me to brush his teeth with, so I haven't brushed my teeth. It's all Lamar's fault. Lamar this, Lamar that, Lamar did that, Lamar has since moved on. Several women passed you, bitch. But she was on this show and all she could do was talk about Lamar. I don't know if production was just cutting and pasting her and only putting scenes where Lamar came out of her mouth. Maybe there's other things that she said that made her important, but they sure didn't make her look good on this page, girl. They didn't make you look good in this reality TV show. You got your check and you look like you're crazy. You look like you came up here for no reason. So Liza leaving, she left the first episode. I don't know why they even had her here. She was literally like a filler. They just put her there when they didn't have nobody there to talk to. That's what that was. Then we had Phoebe decide to go ahead and address nothing about Lance. But before Phoebe could get to that, nothing wanted to go ahead and spread more lies and bring up the fact that OG apparently was the one seeking her out to be on the show. And she said something like, OG wanted me to come to the reunion and expose you, Phoebe. OG has no power to seek you out, to bring you on the reunion. She is not the executive producer of the show. She doesn't have anything to do with production. And right now, production don't even like her ass to make her look bad or trying to make her look bad on purpose. She has no say in what happens on this show. So how the hell is she going to be the one to bring you on this show to badmouth Phoebe? You sound stupid as you look. No wonder you end up with Lance. How y'all deserve each other. So Phoebe didn't even want to like deal with that part of OG. She didn't care. All she wanted to do was find out why this girl sent her some porn. So she brought up her Instagram because nothing tried to act like it didn't happen. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I don't know what she's talking about. Phoebe's like, you're not finna play with me. So she pulled it up and said, you sent me this. And then nothing, told you she was a liar. Now said, I'm not even gonna lie. I did some messy shit in my past. You know, you've been in situations when a man makes you do like stupid stuff. So I know you've been there too. And you know how he is. Lance put us through a lot of stuff. So I just want to tell you I was going through something. Now you want to tell the truth? When they try to bring it up earlier, all you want to do was talk about OG this and OG that and OG this and OG that because you felt in your spirit that if you also were against OG, this is how this group will accept you. That's what you thought. But believe you me, nothing. Once this franchise feels like they've gotten back on track, you will be X'd off the island. All the shit that you did will mean nothing. You will look as useless as I think you are on the screen. Now, Jackie and Phoebe decides to address their issues. And Phoebe says, what I'm thinking, Jackie is not these heifers' friends. Nothing to no one, Jackie is not your friend. She's going to have you hanging around for as long as she needs you. Just like she dropped OG at the end of this episode, she's going to drop your ass too. Evelyn says that she has no ill will towards OG and Jackie's dumbass rolls with it. It's good to know that Evelyn doesn't have any ill will towards OG because it brings a little bit, it means that there's something for us to look forward in the future. She's doing stupid shit like that, right? And I'm thinking, bitch, Evelyn is suing OG. What the hell you mean she don't want anything? What do you mean by that? She doesn't have any ill will towards OG. If you don't have any ill will towards me, you wouldn't have sued me for telling you the truth. That makes no sense. If you have no ill will towards me, you would not have sued me for telling you the truth. Because if I'm thinking that Cece should have sued Evelyn. She deserved to get sued. Instead, Evelyn was the one suing like she's the victim. And Jackie's dumbass had the nerve to get on this confessional and said that she's glad to hear that Evelyn doesn't have any ill will towards OG. Girl, bye. Now, Jackie is stupid as hell, and I said that she's full of shit. Now, the bullshit season, that this entire season was all about trying to end the colorism accusation. That was the whole point of it, and that's a fact. Jackie and Jennifer decided to talk about colorism the next day with OG now that they're back at the house, and that scene has terminated because that's the only scene that Phoebe was worth and important to even associate with. That's it. There was supposed to be some drama between her and nothing, and that just, it is what it is. And then Jennifer says that she's done with the negativity, but she's part of the negativity. That's just a fact. And we're sitting there. Jennifer brings up Malaysia and Kristen coming up there while Jackie's talking to OG. She said, you know, let me just let me just interject here. When Malaysia and Kristen came here and tried to talk to you, they seemed like they genuinely wanted to talk to you. And OG was like, no, the hell they didn't. Malaysia was the first thing she said to me was what I experienced wasn't true. That's not somebody that wants to talk to me. And then Jennifer felt defensive because here's OG again calling her ignorant ass IQ. Because the first time that Jennifer spoke, she had something to say. She said, I think it was noble that Kristen came here to want to talk to you. And OG's like, that shit ain't noble. Kristen does not need to come here and talk to me about colorism or anything like that. Kristen, it falls into the third category of colorism. She is the passive aggressive African American that's just taking whatever she wants to take. So far as she gets her seat in the table, she's gonna hush up and take whatever master gives her, and it is what it is. And she's the one that came here to come and talk to me, and she's not even the one I needed to speak to. She's irrelevant. She's the little background music. Her only contribution to the show was when she was fighting with her own family member, Cece. That's all it is. Kristen came here, that shit ain't noble. And Jennifer took offense to it and said, well, that's when OG attacked her. I said, Jennifer, you're reaching. And OG said, bitch, you're reaching too. So I guess Jennifer and OG finally get into the argument that's been brewing because Jennifer has been leading up to the point where she's going to boot OG out the island now because that's what she wanted to do in the first place. And OG said, finally, show your true colors. And Jennifer said, OG, nobody can get along with you. Bitch, Jennifer, didn't you come on the show fighting half the people? That's why you got kicked off the first time. Nobody liked you. Then you got brought back. And when you came back, OG, Jackie, Tammy, people were actually defending you to keep you here, including Malaysia. You shit on Malaysia. You shit on Tammy. And now you shit on OG. The only person that left is Jackie. Jackie, wait for it. Jennifer's going to throw your ass in the bushes too and leave your ass there in the grass. And when she does, you're going to deserve that shit because you chose this little heifer over somebody that actually had your back. Well done. Now we had Jennifer suggesting that OG should just leave the house. And Jennifer wasn't even the one who invited OG in the house. Jackie invited her. And Jackie decided that since she can't get what she wants from OG, that she's going to go with Jennifer and say, well, now you need to leave. Basically, they kicked OG out again. You're making her seem like she's the problem again. And you're doing something that's colorism behavior, joining people and excluding somebody else based on nothing just because you want to go with the crowd. The fact is, Jackie, what you're doing is a function of that because you're going with the light-skinned girls. You're doing whatever it is you feel will get you in the in-group. And nobody's going to sit here and say, oh, it's favoritism. It's not favoritism. People can argue that Shawnee's is favoritism, and I think that's bullshit. But with Jackie in this case, Jackie is more concerned about keeping the show going than addressing the underlying issues in this group. Maybe Jackie wasn't intending on being colorism towards or being a colorist towards OG, but she has been a colorist towards her daughter and it was brought on the show. So this is something you yourself have a problem with as well. And when people are over there calling her monkey and ugly and she's this and she's that and using trigger words, you're dirty, you're this, that is a function of colorism. And if you sit there and say nothing, you are also part of the problem, Jackie. That's the issue you don't seem to get. Then Jennifer says the OG's toxic and Jackie says, how do we help her? Like she's a case, like a mental case you need to help. Are you for real? I was like, you know what? Lord needs to help me because I'm trying to be on my good behavior, but these happens make you want to actually cuss every single one of them out because I feel like they deserve it. And after they did this to OG and they sent her out, OG went upstairs, she packed her stuff up and she started walking out. And then the episode ends. And I said, you know what? There's a bit of understanding that people need to hear about Jackie. Jackie's not as intelligent, neither is Jennifer, and neither is Malaysia. Why? I did find something online because I wanted to explain to you guys what I'm trying to say. Colorism is a consequence of racism. That's a fact. With Jackie, it's a lack of intelligence. When you are incapable of listening to the opinions and thoughts of others, it's a lack of emotional intelligence because the individual is now incapable to assign value to the emotions and experiences of others. OG experienced something, she's not letting it go because it's what she experienced. She's using words like colorism, and Jackie is attributing colorism solely as racism and did not want to see the colorism aspect of it because she didn't want to accept that racism. She's like, I'm racist. She used that word, held onto it, which means she wasn't really listening to what the person was saying. And it's a lack of intelligence if you can't hear what somebody's saying to you. That's what it is. Then I took an example. I said, if you've been in the situation where you're arguing with somebody or you're having a disagreement, right? A lot of times your arguments happen and or keep going or perpetuate because neither one of you are able to understand each other's. This person is trying to get you to hear what they're saying. You're trying to get them to hear what you're saying. And y'all are arguing because neither one of you are hearing each other. Right? And that's how the argument ensues. When y'all calm down, you can talk about it. Generally, y'all able to empathize with the other person's opinion and their feeling. You're able to find a middle ground. In this season, they did not do that. Malaysia, Kristen, and everybody from all sides, including Jackie, tried to attack OG and her opinion to make her think that what she experienced was all in her head. They were not trying to understand her. And that's the problem that we're having here. Then I said Jackie is too fixated on the idea that she's racist, so much so that she can't comprehend OG's words. I said that before. Skin color is a huge determining criteria for how a person will be judged and evaluated. In U.S., it's deeply rooted in the foundation in the foundation of racism, which was established long before the 21st century. With Jackie having lived in this country, you can look at a dark-skinned person, and when they behave a certain way, if OG raised her voice even a little bit, they'll say she's too aggressive. If she yelled, they'll say she's too aggressive. If she even stood up and had a dominating presence, she's too aggressive or intimidating. This is all the stereotypes they put on African American women to make them shy away from being who they are and kind of being timid and passive aggressive the way that Kristen behaves, instead of being outspoken and strong-minded and intelligent and speak your mind. This is a form of colorism. Now, they segregated her on the show. They let Evelyn and her antics and Malaysia and her antics go because they're the light-skinned girls. So when they yell and they do something crazy, it's not aggressive. It's an excuse because they have a reason to do so. But OG has not responded to people unless they treated her a certain way. Now she's the aggressive one that can't sit on the stage with people. And Jackie, in the reunion, actually asked, why is OG on a different stage? All of a sudden now she's pretending like she don't remember that shit. Jackie has developed some unconscious biases that I don't think that she's willing to acknowledge. And that's where I stand with the situation. The episode ended and I was highly disappointed. I thought that Jackie was full of shit. I think that she was a bitch to OG. I think that she was a pathetic excuse for a friend. I think that she doesn't understand the concept of friendship. I think that she was more willing to fix her friendship with Malaysia, who actually abandoned her because Evelyn told her some bull. But you were going to throw OG away, who stood by your side and is not allowing anybody to manipulate her opinions of you. Jackie is treating OG some type of way because she feels like OG called her racist. The thing about it is there's racism, which is basically the pillar of it all, but within it you have certain things, certain aspects of it that were consequences of racism. You have colorism, you have stereotypes, you have unconscious biases, you have things within that bracket, prejudices. When somebody says you're prejudiced, you need to understand what the word prejudice is so you're able to understand what you're doing. When somebody says that's a stereotype, you're being stereotypical. You don't jump from stereotypical and say, well, the person called me racist. When somebody says you're a colorist or you have colorism undertones within yourself, that doesn't mean that you jump to racism and ignore the root of the issue. Jackie basically deflected and ran with she called me racist, there's no racism in this group. There might not be what the grand scheme of things where you call racism, but there are stereotypes. When you have dark-skinned person like OG, you paint her aggressive when she hasn't touched anybody. That's stereotypical. And that's also a bracket of colorism because you're looking at the darker person with the darker hue and saying that when that person behaves a certain way without actually physically attacking somebody, you're painting the aggressive label on them. Not just that, you're saying that that person is too incapable of controlling themselves, that they can't be in a room full of women that they've sat on stage with before and interact with them appropriately without some kind of violence ensuing. Whereas all the other girls you had on the stage sitting across from you are girls who have fought, girls who have attacked other people. Jennifer was able to sit across from Malaysia and Evelyn, and both had attacked her physically. Jackie has attacked multiple people on the show physically. Malaysia has fought physically. None of these girls were excommunicated from the show and put on different corners as if they're in timeout on the grounds of them being aggressive. They looked at the person who's of a darker hue and embraced some of the stereotypical social aspects of what they brand African Americans as, especially if they're dark, because African Americans also have the light skin, the dark skin issues that versus each other that they have, and you ran with it. That is a form of colorism. So if you're incapable, not even necessarily capable, you understand what you're doing, you just don't want to accept it, and that's the problem. So you know what, Jackie, you and Jennifer can go straight to hell. Bitch, fuck you. That's how I feel, because what you guys did to this girl was fucked up, and I'm not changing my mind, and that's how I feel. Fuck you, bitches. That's what you deserve. And I feel like if OG ain't gonna cuss you out, I should cuss you out. Bye.